Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim for The Real Sports Talking. Hit me up on Twitter at CashKelly, KASHKelly _TRST, and you can also like The Real Sports Talk on Facebook. I'm going to try and do a few videos tonight because what I want to talk about is Magglio Ordonez retiring, and also I want to talk about Roy Halladay. But in this video, I'm going to focus on Roy Halladay's former teammate, Roy Oswalt, who is now headed off to Texas, to the Texas Rangers, the AL West leading Texas Rangers, after signing a one-year, $5 million deal today. That is according to John Heyman. Now, he worked with numerous sources on this report, but Heyman says the deal will be worth $5 million flat rate. So, you know, they had to actually guarantee a pretty decent amount for a guy that's going to come in and probably not be ready for a couple weeks still. So you're not talking about getting him till mid-June and probably getting in good form till July. They had to give up a decent amount of money, and then there also is $1 million in incentives depending on how well he does, and no one knows exactly what those incentives are, and no one probably will, because that's just something that the team and Oswalt kind of discuss and go over. But overall, this move happened pretty much because Natali Feliz has just gone on the DL, only the 15-day DL, but the Rangers kind of realized that they need more pitching depth. As good as the rotation has actually been for this team, with guys like Yu Darvish has had a good season, Colby Lewis, Derek Holland, Matt Harrison, I think that they still felt like they needed another veteran arm in that rotation. It's a very young rotation, and Roy Oswalt brings experience of a guy who's been there. He's been in the World Series with the Astros. He's been back to the playoffs a couple times in Philadelphia. So certainly Roy Oswalt brings that experience and the leadership to the rotation. A lot of people have asked me, though, how much is he really going to bring overall as a pitcher? Because last season he certainly was not very impressive. In the playoffs he didn't pitch well, and what he did last season, 9-10 with a 3.69 ERA, I'm really willing to throw that out, because Roy Oswalt, after he came back from visiting his family, there was a huge tornado in his hometown. He just wasn't right in the mind. That I'll throw that part out. If he can come into Texas, and I think he can do this because Texas is basically the place that he handpicked to go when he had offers from teams like LA. I think he might have even had an offer from Baltimore. Maybe Philly would have got into it now with Roy Halladay being out. So certainly he had other options. I don't think that the Cardinals were ever really that interested, and that made the decision easy, because I think his first two teams of choice always were the St. Louis Cardinals and the Texas Rangers, and then the Phillies I think were a distant third. So, and the Red Sox and the Tigers, other teams called certainly, but Roy Oswalt had a pick of a lot of contenders, and he ultimately went with the Texas Rangers, which was a nice move for him. And because of that, I think he's closer to his home than he was in Philly. I mean, obviously Texas isn't next door to Mississippi, but it's not across the country either, and I think that he's familiar with Texas, having pitched in Houston for a long time. So that part of his mind, everything, he's focused. That whole thing with his back, you know what, it's either going to work out or it's not with his back. I can't really sit here and speculate, well, I think Roy Oswalt's going to last this amount of time and then he's going to have back spasms again and he's going to be shut down. I really don't know what's going to happen with Roy Oswalt's back, but I think when he comes in here, as long as he's focused, which I do expect, I think Roy Oswalt can give you a solid 9 or 10 wins for the remainder of the season. Between 9 and 11 wins is where I'd put him, probably about at a 10-7 record with an ERA just above, no, I'll give him about a 3.30, 3.40 ERA, and that's a really good pitcher to add in your rotation. Now, what happens when Natali Feliz, when he comes back? The speculation is that he would go back to the bullpen, because the Rangers certainly do need bullpen help, but he will not be going back to his former role as closer. Joe Nathan's in the first year of a 2-year, $14 million deal, and after some rough seasons to end a great run in Minnesota, Joe Nathan has come back this season and looked like his old self. He's 11 for 12 in saves, as a whip of 0.87 and an ERA of 2.18. Joe Nathan's not leaving that closer position, so Natali Feliz, if he goes to the bullpen, is going to be a setup man, and you know, he's really getting the raw end of the deal in this, but out of the people in the rotation, he's the one that has the experience in the bullpen and has been effective in that role, so certainly he's the one that it makes the most sense to put in the bullpen. I mean, unfortunately for him, he just picked a bad time to get injured because he was having a really solid first season in the rotation. 3-1, 37 strikeouts, a whip just over 1. Batters were hitting between lefties and righties, 187 against him, and he had an ERA of 3.16. So it wasn't like he was struggling. It wasn't even like he was doing, he's doing alright, but maybe he's better in the bullpen. Natali Feliz looked really solid as a starter in a lot of the games he pitched, but unfortunately he now will be put in the bullpen once he comes back, in all likelihood, as probably the setup man. So this is a move that benefits the Rangers in my mind if Roy Oswalt is able to come in, because it gives them more added depth. If Joe Nathan does struggle, then you could put Natali Feliz in that closer spot. If Joe Nathan doesn't struggle, then either you have a really solid setup man, whether he's happy or not, who knows. But in the rotation also, if anyone goes down with an injury or begins to struggle, then you have a sixth man. It is always really nice to have an option for like a sixth guy to bring out of your rotation and make some spot starts, but he's not like that normal long relief guy that you can just bring out of the rotation and he can give you 5 innings of 3 runs. You can really bring Natali Feliz out of your bullpen at any time and put him in the rotation, and he's going to be a very effective pitcher, at least if he continues down the road that we've seen so far. So a nice signing by the Texas Rangers. We talk about how the Rangers, it seems impossible that a team's going to go to the World Series for the 3rd straight year, but right now, to me, they're clearly the best team in the American League West, and I'm not betting against them that they won't go to the World Series for a 3rd straight season.